أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم سبح لله ما في السماوات وما في الأرض وهو العزيز الحكيم يا أيها الذين آمنوا لما تقولون ما لا تفعلون كبر مقتا عند الله أن تقولوا ما لا تفعلون إن الله يحب الذين يقاتلون في سبيله صفا كأنهم بنيان مرصوص وإذ قال موسى لقومه يا قوم لم تؤذونني وقد تعلمون إني رسول الله إليكم فلما زاغوا أزاغ الله قلوبهم والله لا يهدي القوم الفاسقين وإذ قال عيسى ابن مريم يا بني إسرائيل إني رسول الله إليكم مصدقا لما بين يدي من التوراة ومبشرا برسول يأتي من بعده اسمه أحمد لما جاءهم بالبينات قالوا هذا سحر مبين ومن أظلم ممن افترى على الله الكذب وهو يدعى إلى الإسلام والله لا يهدي القوم الظالمين يريدون ليطفئوا نور الله بأفواههم والله متم نوره ولو كره الكافرون هو الذي أرسل رسوله بالهدى ودين الحق ليظهره على دين كله ولو كره المشركون يا أيها الذين آمنوا هل أدلكم على تجارة تنجيكم من عذاب أليم تؤمنون بالله ورسوله وتجاهدون في سبيل الله بأموالكم وأنفسكم ذلكم خير لكم إن كنتم تعلمون صدق الله العلي العظيم صلوات
Before we proceed, we have some announcements to make. We will be doing bonfires on Friday and Saturday for the youth. And there will be a sisters-only English question and answer on Saturday from 2:30 to 4:30. And there will be a lecture with Sayyid Hussain Makki and a dinner on Sunday 1:15. Now to proceed with the program, I would like to read some short poetry and then some marsiya with Brother Salman and Brother Raza and Brother Bakir. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. Alhamdulillah for walaya of Amir al-Mu'mineen. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Tell me what is ishq if not being promised death and still standing fixed? When you are promised heaven if you left, but giving your own life has become your own wish. There's no better love and loyalty other than this. On that day, all types of blood in the sands had been mixed. On that day, the numbers were 72 against thousands, but only Hussein's 72 could equal more than 100,000. In terms of loyalty, not literally, each one of them martyred savagely, not an ounce of regret, for it was for the Holy Family. As each one fell, the Master of Martyrs gave them peace in their final moments. When all had fallen, there was one lonely face left on the plains that was glowing. The beloved of God's beloved knew for what he had been chosen. Whether it be Yazid or an army, he would be victorious against any opponent. His love has traveled centuries and it has reached to me. What happened at Karbala happened because they didn't heed to what happened at Ghadir. Because they didn't get the memo when the Rasul tried to teach the people of Allah's wali. It is with my heart and not my eyes that I see the importance of the family of Fatima, Sayyidat Nisa al-Alameen. May the highest degrees of paradise be granted to Ashab al-Hussein. No one was given better companions than you, O Mawla, Ya Hussein. Even some in the circle of your holy grandfather had turned, but to mix their own blood with the holy blood was what the 72 had yearned. There was 2 instances when it said that the heavens cried, first for Yahya ibn Zakaria, and second for when Hussein ibn Ali died. The return of the cousin of Yahya is becoming very nigh. My wish is that the return of the grandson of Fatima is when I am still alive. If not, I renew my covenant to my master in every morning that I pray, in every morning prayer that I pray. Inshallah, with my sword and sheath in my hand, Allah will raise me from my grave. Salawat Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Now we will proceed with some marsiya by Brother Salman.
बारे दीगर नारे सलावात। ज़हरा जफ़ाए बानिए शर देखती रही, कटता रहा हुसैन का सर देखती रही। सीने में माँ का दिल था मगर देखती रही, और खैमे से बहन सुए दर देखते रही। रन में जो शोरे कत्ले शहे करबला हुआ, एक चीख मुँह से निकली के अम्मा ये क्या, एक चीख मुँह से निकली के अम्मा ये क्या हुआ। तड़पा जो दिल तो खैमे में ज़ैनब ना रोक सकी, उठी बड़ी कनात से टकरा के गिर गई। संभली जिगर को थाम के फिर उठ खड़ी हुई, मक्तल की सिमत ठोकरें खाती हुई बढ़ी। कुछ तन बदन की सोथी न चादर की फिक्र थी, मक्तल पे थी निगाह बरा दर की फिक्र, मक्तल पे थी निगाह बरा दर की फिक्र थी। पहुंची करीब मक्तले सालारे करबला, देखा के कट चुका सरे अतहर हुसैन, रेगे तपा पे है तने अकदस पड़ा हुआ। प्यासे का जिस्म है तो है खून भी जमा जमा, पहले तो बेयकीनी में दो गाम हट गए, फिर थर थरा के लाशाए शय से लिपट, फिर थर थरा के लाशाए शय से लिपट। अकबर तुम्हें खबर नहीं क्या हश्र हो, अरे बेटा लई ने काट लिया सर हुसैन का, अब दश्त में है लाशाए बेसर पड़ा हुआ। मैंने उठाना चाहा था मुझसे ना हो, अरे मैंने उठाना चाहा था मुझसे ना हो। आकर संभालो मेरे दिले पाश पाश को, खैमे में ले चलो मेरे भाई की लाश, खैमे में ले चलो मेरे भाई की लाश। अकबर कहाँ थे सुनते जो मजलूम के, कुछ और बढ़ गया दिले ज़ैनब का इश्क, रुख करके सूए नहरे सदा दिए। अब्बास देखते हो बहन का ये हाल ज़ा, कहते थे हर बला से मुझे तुम बचाओगे, क्या कैद हो के जाऊंगी उस वक्त आओ, अरे क्या कैद हो के जाऊंगी उस वक्त आओ। भैया खींचे मरीज का बिस्तर तो क्या जल जाए गहवारे असगर तो क्या छीने शकी सकीना के गौहर तो क्या लग जाए आग खैमों के अंदर तो क्या शिमरे लई सकीना को कोड़े लगाए अरे मैं क्या करूंगी मुझसे तो देखा ना जाए मैं क्या करूंगी मुझसे तो देखा ना जाए चिल्लाई सर को पीट के भैया चले जंगल में मुझको छोड़ के तन्हा चले तुम ही तो थे बहन का सहारा चले अरे दुनिया ही खत्म हो गई तुम क्या चले अब्बास कासिम अली अकबर कोई नहीं बेआसरा हूँ अब मेरे सर पर कोई अरे बेआसरा हूँ अब मेरे सर पर कोई भैया छीने जो सर से रिदा क्या करो लूटेंगे जब ये अहले जफा क्या करो टूटेगी जब बला पे बला क्या करो अरे मेरा तो कोई भी ना रहा क्या करो अरे मेरा तो कोई भी ना रहा क्या करो अम्मा चली गई मेरे बाबा चले अम्मा चली गई मेरे बाबा चले अब तुम भी मुझको छोड़ के तन्हा चले अब तुम भी मुझको छोड़ के तन्हा चले ज़हरा जफ़ाए बानी शर देखते रही सलावत
मोहम्मद वाले मोहम्मद बुलंद तर सलवात बारी दीगर सलवात उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को ला रहा हूँ मैं लाशे अकबर उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को ला रहा हूँ मैं लाशे अकबर बोले होंगे हुसैन ये रोकर उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को नौजवान लाश है ज़ईफ़ी है मेरी नजरों से देख मंजर को कैसे हम शीर को संभालूंगा, मैं संभाले हुए हूँ अकबर को। तेरा एहसान होगा ये मुझ पर, उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को। दो नगीने थे इसकी झोली में, दोनों अकबर पे कर दिए सदका। सब्र ऐसा कि इनके लाशों पर मैंने रोते उसे नहीं देखा है, मगर अब ये लाश-ए अकबर उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को। इसके सीने से लेके नाम अली मैंने बरछी अभी निकाली है। इम्तिहान दे चुकी मेरी गुर्बत, अब तेरी बेबसी की बारी है। तू भी इस वक्त या अली कहकर उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को। ऐसे लाशे जवा उठाए हूँ, एड़ियाँ खत बनाती आती हैं। इन निशानों के पीछे पीछे मेरी अम्मा ज़हरा मिटाती आती हैं। इसकी नजरें ना देखें ये मंजर, उम्मे लैला संभाल ज़ैनब को। सलवात। اشرح لي صدري ويسر لي أمري واحلل عقدة من لساني يفقهوا قولي. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. صلى الله عليك يا سيدي يا رسول الله، صلى الله عليك وعلى أهل بيتك الطيبين الطاهرين، صلى الله عليك يا مولاي وابن مولاي يا أبا عبد الله. فاز من اعتصم بحبلكم، أمن من لجأ إلى حصنكم. يا ليتنا كنا معكم سيدي، فنفوز فوزا عظيما. Inshallah, before we begin, if we can have all the brothers please slide forward to make room for the coming guests, inshallah. رحم الله من ذكر القائم من آل محمد. I want from tomorrow, inshallah, our youth, our younger brothers, anybody who is under the age of 15, to leave the corner areas for the older brothers, inshallah, for our older brothers, our older parents, inshallah. So all of our younger children should sit in the front. Why do we do that? First of all, our seniors need to lay back, need to relax. Inshallah, we have everybody here is shabab. We don't have any shiyab, inshallah. Nobody's senior. All of them are youthful, inshallah. Secondly, sitting over here, I want you guys to focus so you can focus with me and we can address each other. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. قال الله في محكم كتابه الكريم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم لقد كان في يوسف وإخوته آيات للسائلين. Allah in the Holy Quran says, certainly in the story of Joseph and his brothers were signs for those that seek, for the seekers. Let's see, what can we take from the story of Yusuf and his brothers? Brothers and sisters, it is rather clear, all the Quran from beginning to end are signs for the seekers. Excuse me. However, when it comes to Yusuf alayhi salam and his brothers, we take a lot of things from that story. First thing we take is how to deal with your brothers. Second thing we take is how to deal with the evil that resides within our hearts towards our loved ones. Let's not kid ourselves. All of us have things that we dislike about our loved ones, about our parents, about our brothers, about our sisters, am I right or not? We all have something we dislike or we wish were different about our families. Just like our parents, there are things within us that they wish were different. Now, we're going to jump to this part. قالوا يا أبانا ما لك لا تأمنا على يوسف وإنا له لناصحون. Oh, our father, why do you not trust us with Yusuf? Why do you not trust us with Yusuf? We are indeed individuals that want goodness for him, that want to advise him, that wish wellness for him. What does their father, who is their father, by the way? Who is the father of Yusuf? Yaqub, Jacob. They say to him, أرسله معنا غدا يرتع ويلعب وإنا له لحافظون. Send him with us tomorrow. يرتع ويلعب. يرتع means that he eats his fill. ويلعب means he has fun, he plays around. And we will watch over him. We will be his caretakers. We will protect him. Yusuf here answers them. قال إني ليحزنني أن تذهبوا به. It brings fear to me. It upsets me when you take him away from me. If you were to take him away from me. He stops. Then he gives a second reason. وَأَخَافُ أَن يَأْكُلَهُ الذِّئْبُ وَأَنْتُمْ عَنْهُ غَافِلُونَ. And I fear that he might be eaten, killed by a wolf while you are not paying attention to him. Now let's take a look at this ayah. First and foremost, in the previous ayah, what do we recite? We recite that the brothers of Yusuf were already plotting his death. Then they said, you know what? We're not going to kill him. We're going to throw him in a well تلتقطه بعض السيارة. Sayyara means a caravan. That a caravan might pick him up. That way we don't have to deal with him anymore. Why is that? Yusuf was favored by his father. Now, Yaqub was a prophet. Was Yaqub favoring? Did Yaqub have favoritism? The fact of the matter is Yusuf is a prophet. So Yaqub was treating Yusuf in accordance to his future. What does he say? Yusuf comes and tells his father, he says, "Oh father, inni ra'aytu." What is that? Ahsantum. I see 11 moons or 11 planets, and I see the sun and the moon prostrating before me. What does he say? Yaqub says to him, Allah will fulfill the obligation upon the family of Yaqub through you. وَيُتِمُّ نِعْمَتَهُ عَلَيْكَ وَعَلَىٰ آلِ كَمَا أَتَمَّهَا عَلَىٰ إبراهيم وإسماعيل. إبراهيم, remind me, Ibrahim وإسحاق. The gist of the ayah. Here, Yaqub says what? Says that through you, Yusuf, Allah will complete the blessings that is upon the family of Yaqub. Therefore, the source, the completion of that blessing is whom? Is Yusuf. That gave Yusuf what? An automatically an elevated status. So when Yaqub was treating him, he was treating him from that essence. Keeping in mind that Yusuf was young, so there wasn't favoritism, but Yaqub wasn't treating Yusuf any differently. He was treating him according to equity, not equality. What is the difference between equity and equality? Equality, you give everything the same. Everyone you give the same. That's great when it comes to law. In law, you want everybody to receive the same. White, black, man, woman, child, senior, everybody should get the same. That's equality. What about equity? You give everybody what they need. We've all seen that famous picture, right? The three trying to look over to see the game on the other side of the fence. Equity is when each one gets what they need in order for all of them to see over the fence. Same thing here. Yaqub was treating his son with equity, his sons. Meaning, how many of you guys here have different age kids? You're not going to treat your 23-year-old or your 15-year-old the same way you're going to treat your 2-year-old. In fact, if you do that, people are going to look at you and say, is everything okay with you? Why? Because that age difference requires you to treat them accordingly. That's number one. Number two is that his older brothers were jealous. They were jealous what? They were jealous of what they saw come from Yusuf. Remember, Yusuf is an infallible, and they were not. That's why the Quran says, لَقَدْ كَانَ فِي يُوسُفَ وَإِخْوَتِهِ آيَاتٌ لِلسَّائِلِينَ. Basically, what the Quran is saying, if you have any questions, if you want to know the truth, come. Listen to the story of Yusuf and his brothers. Nonetheless, we'll move on, inshaAllah. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The first thing we take from these three verses is we have to be aware. The Prophet says, Al-mu'min kayyisun fatan. The believer is perceptive and aware. You should be, as a believer, perceptive and aware of your surrounding, your next of kin, your nearest, your brothers, your family. You should be aware. In fact, an individual like that, we have a saying in Arabic, we say, Al-abdu yuqra'u bil-asa wal-hurru takfihil ishara. A free individual meaning what? Not a slave and a free man as in the Western sense of the word. A free individual, an individual who has a liberated mind. And a slave meaning an individual who has imprisoned his mind to its shahawat, to its wants and desires. That's one way of looking at the verse. Al-abdu yuqra'u bil-asa Not necessarily meaning the slave that is owned by someone else. No, rather the individual who has enslaved himself to his whims and wills and wants. That individual cannot move unless he's struck. Of course, struck doesn't mean with the hands. Struck meaning what? Means that something forces him to move. Wal-hur, a free individual. Freedom in every sense. Freedom in the mental, spiritual sense. Takfih al-ishara. We see this where? We see sometimes from a certain look, an individual can understand and act accordingly. We're all sitting here. Some of the elder brothers looks at you. You understand what you're doing is wrong, you leave it. That's one way of understanding it. The Prophet says, Al-mu'min kayyisun fatin, perceptive and aware. He has perception of his surrounding, of the world around him, and he is aware of his actions and the actions of others. Yaqub here, same thing. When they came to him and they said, we want to take our brothers with us. First of all, he says, if you take him away, I'm going to be upset. And that's a normal feeling. Every father feels that way. In fact, your father might be upset with you and angry with you because you did something, but the second you're not around, he starts wondering, why is my son not around? Why is my daughter not around? What has befallen them? Are they okay? Right now, I'm here with you guys, and my kids are in Najaf. And constantly in the back of my mind, are they okay? Did they fall down the stairs? Did they trip and fall? Did they eat? And they're with their mother. That is a normal part of who you are, especially when your kid exemplifies the best of qualities. You are automatically protective or overprotective. And these are two points we will address. Being protective and being overprotective, or sometimes not just overprotective, overbearingly protective. Then he says, وَأَخَافُ أَن يَأْكُلَهُ الذِّئْبُ. And I fear that through your neglect or without your awareness, that he is killed or harmed by the wolf. Here we see that Yaqub has an understanding that they are not getting along very well. Otherwise, why would he dispute this fact? Why would he say to them, I don't want you to take him? If they were good brothers, he would have said, take him with you. How many of them were there? How many brothers did Yusuf have? 11. Where do we get this from? The ayah. إِنِّي رَأَيْتُ أَحَدَ عَشَرَ كَوْكَبًا. 11 brothers. Benjamin, his younger brother, was too young. So there were at least nine brothers, 10 brothers, let's say. 10 brothers, actually, that were what? That should have been able to protect him. And they say that. What do his brothers say? They say, oh, our father, لَإِن يَأْكُلُهُ الذِّئْبَ وَنَحْنُ عَنْهُ وَنَحْنُ عَصْبَةٌ إِنَّ إِذًا لَمِنَ أو إِنَّ إِذًا لَخَاسِرُونَ. If the wolf were to harm him while we are usba, what is usba? Usba means a band. Usba means a band. Why a band? There's a beautiful story. They say that one stick can be broken easily, but 10 sticks put together are very difficult to break. That's what they're saying. They're saying, Nahnu usba. We are together. How could a wolf eat him? How could anything harm him? If you are one and you're his father, there's 10 of us. However, they did not dispute the first act or the first thing he said, which is what? Which is that I will be upset when you take him from me. Why? Because that's a normal thing. It is normal for you, as his father, protective of him, to be upset when he's not around you, to be worried about him. However, there is the second part here. What do they say? أَرْسِلْهُ مَعَنَا غَدًا يَرْتَعْ وَيَلْعَبْ وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ. Here, our scholars come and they stop. They start thinking about this. Why does the Quran use these three descriptions? Keep in mind, Yusuf was a child. Yusuf was a child, 10, 11 years old, around that age. They said, oh, our father, let him come with us. Yarta, to eat his fill. Wayal'ab, and to have fun, play around. And we are his protectors. Here our scholars say that these are the rights of the child. A child's rights are to what? not to worry about what he's going to eat and when he will eat next. His right is to eat when he wants. And here we stop. We say, Allahu Akbar, Ya Muslimin. How many of us, how many of our children, that is their biggest concern. Their biggest concern is, when am I going to eat? I live in Iraq, I live in Najaf, and I see how many children, and it's heartbreaking, at the age of 7, at the age of 8, they have jobs. Why? To feed themselves or their families. Allahu Akbar. This is our obligations as Muslims to ensure that they don't suffer that way. Keep that in mind, brothers and sisters. In a narration, it says, لو صدق السائل لهلك المسؤول. If this individual is truthful in what he says, then you, as the one being questioned, being asked, you would perish, because it's my obligation and your obligation to make sure that they are not in need. Nonetheless, يرتع ويلعب. So, to eat his fill and to have fun, to enjoy his childhood. Then it says, وَإِنَّا لَهُ لَحَافِظُونَ, and we are his protectors, O my Father. We shall watch over him. So they say these are the rights of the child. Now we come to the second part. What is the second part? The second part is you as an individual should be aware of the surroundings, as we said, al-mu'min kayyisun fatin, perceptive and aware. Brothers, if I can have our youth sit upright. You are sitting in the majlis of Imam al-Hussein alayhi salam. Sit upright with respect. Take off your hoodie, take off your hat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. These are things we need to be aware of. That we should be aware of the problems we have, of how we are treating our siblings and our loved ones. Because sometimes we might cause them harm without understanding. Sometimes a simple word, and excusing me for using this word on the minbar, a word like "you're an idiot," as simple as it is, has tremendous effect on your child. As simple and as small and as minute as it is, has a tremendous effect on your sibling. Keep that in mind. Al-Imam al-Sadiq, salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi, says, you are one of three, and treat everyone as one of three. Those who are older than you, treat them you would your parents. And those who are younger than you, treat them the way you would your children. And these are who are your age, treat them the way you would your siblings. Keep that in mind. How do we treat our children? With love and protection. How do we treat our parents? With love and submissiveness and respect. And how do we treat our brothers and sisters? With love and honor and respect. Keep those in mind. If you treat everyone in your life in accordance to these laws, and everyone in turn treats everyone else in their life in according to these three laws, we wouldn't have any issues. We would be ummatun wasata, just like the Quran describes. We should be a balanced nation, a middle nation, not too loose and not too strict, not too to the left and not too to the right. I'm not talking politically, obviously. Politics is a separate issue. Nonetheless, then we see the second part. The second part of the ayah says, Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. My apologies. We said the second part says that if the wolf was to eat him, then we are truly losers. Why? Because here comes the second part. The second or the third part, my apologies, is that this child needs to be protected because they are unaware. So as we grow up in Iraq, every couple of minutes, what does your father say to you? Dir balik, dir balik. What does dir balik mean? Watch out for yourself. Pay attention, focus. Everything, every time, whenever you cross a road, every single time. Dir balik, intibih. Every single thing you do. Why? What is he trying to do? What is your parent here trying to do? Trying to make sure that you are aware of or that you are perceptive of the world around you. However, here we need to talk about something when it comes to the parents. I see that we are different age groups here. Some of us are parents and some of us are children. Two things we need to be aware of. Number one is protective, and second thing is overprotective. And these are problems. أمير المؤمنين وسيد الموحدين علي بن أبي طالب صلوات الله وسلامه عليه صلى عليه وآله. He says, do not raise your kids the way your parents raised you. For you were born for a time, and they are born to a time. This has never been more evident and more true than in our modern day. We see when I was growing up, when I was in grade 8, grade 9, which wasn't that long ago, but when I was there, it really wasn't that long ago. But back then, we didn't have these tablets, these smartphones. Now, everybody has them. Now, my 7-year-old son can use this better than I can. In all honesty, because they grew up with it. To us, it's new. It's introduced to us. And so on and so forth. Our grandkids are going to have things we haven't even thought of. In fact, the other day I was thinking, if I would have told my grandmother that, baby, I'm talking on a cell phone, she would think I'm insane, I think. Especially my great-grandmother. My great-grandmother died in, I think, 1989, 88. So this concept didn't even exist. Didn't even exist in Iraq, especially cell phones. However, in modern day, when we hear that Fatima alayha salam had as they say, a green, literally they call it literally lawh. Lawh means the tab, okay? A branch of a tree or a piece of wood. A green piece of wood, and she was seeing the masra' of Imam al-Hussein. Back then we used to say, what was this? What is that? Now today, okay, so like an iPad, right? So we have something to relate it to. It seemed like a miracle. Today it seems what? It seems like it's a possibility. Allahu a'lam, in 100 years what's going to be possible. So therefore the Imam says, when you raise your kids, do not raise them the way your parents raised you. Because they are growing up in a different time. We have to try to understand the world and relate to it. Relate to the experiences our kids are going through. Now, I want to address my brothers, my younger brothers. Why is it, or not just the brothers and sisters, inshallah. Unfortunately, because we can't see the sisters, we always, my apologies to the sisters. Why is it that our parents are protective, rather overprotective, and sometimes overbearing? Because we don't really think of that. As children, we just think our parents are mean. Our parents are overprotective. We want to hide what we're doing from our parents. Let's take some examples. Number one, the parent does not want their kid to get hurt. Brothers and sisters, we are a product of our society. We are a product of our experiences. Keep in mind that your parents have experienced more than you can imagine and things that you don't even know about. Your parent might seem like he's an open book to you and she's an open book to you. The fact of the matter is their experiences you don't understand. So most of the time when they are overprotective, it's because they don't want you to fall in the mistakes that they fell into. They don't want you to face the hardships that they faced. They don't want you to feel the pain that they felt. You can ask any father and any mother here, why don't you let your son go out at night? Any father will have one answer. I fear for my kid. I don't want my kid to get hurt. I don't want my kid to get in trouble. I want to protect my kid from the wrongs of this world. Now, can anybody tell me that that's a wrong attribute, that's a false attribute, that's wrong? Absolutely not. If your parent didn't do this, he's falling short. He's not doing his job. She's not doing her job. Number one. Number two, it's a natural feeling. When you love something, you protect it. That's very normal. That's very natural. If you don't, then you don't truly love it, we could say. There's an argument to be made there. However, another thing we have to keep in mind, every single individual is competitive by nature. And every single individual wants to be the best at what they do. That's why we study, that's why we work hard, because I want to provide a life, a better life for my family than the one I had. And most of us, if not all of us, do not accept the fact that there's someone better than us. Between you and yourself, in your mind's eye, think about it. We only accept that Ahlul Bayt are better than us, that the prophets are better than us. Other than that, we don't accept it, although we deal with it. However, there is one that we expect and want to be better than us, and that is our children. I want my children to be better than I am. I want my daughter to be better than me. I don't want my daughter to suffer the way I suffer. Therefore, what do? I try to give them everything that I didn't have. Which, by the way, for the parents, that's not a good thing. In all honesty. Like, I see so many of our parents, they give their children the iPhones and the iPads and the tablets and the PS4s and the PS5s and all of that. Why? Because they want to give them what they didn't have. But brothers and sisters, everything in moderation. Everything in moderation. Otherwise, you are setting your child up for failure. I know some of the younger brothers are not going to like this. The fact that some of our younger brothers play video games from the second they come back from school to the second they come back, go to sleep, is setting them up for failure. It is allowing them to fail, in all honesty, whether you like it or you don't. The fact that my son plays more video games than he spends out in the sun is setting him up to fail. Brothers and sisters, our children need to have what we are doing here. We are here gathered today for Imam al-Hussein salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. These gatherings build the individual up socially. We need to have a safe haven for our kids to grow up in. If we are overbearing and overprotective, what ends up happening? We end up putting them out in the world between lions without a way to defend themselves. You know, there's a beautiful saying in English, they call the cities, they call it concrete jungle, right? Because it is a jungle. It is eat or be eaten. If we are overprotective and all we care about is protecting our children without letting them experience the problems and mistakes and the tribulations of this world, you are literally putting a sheep in between lions. What do you expect will happen to them? What do you expect will come out of them? Likewise, when we force our children to do things, and I'm going to be very plain here, when we force our children to marry someone that I like or their mother likes, or because their mother and someone else planned it, you are setting your children up to fail, especially if they disagree. If they agree, by all means, tawakkalu ala Allah. But in a lot of times, I have people who have come to me saying, Shaykhna, I don't want to marry this individual, and yet I'm being forced to do so. You have set your child up to fail in this position. Because what have you done? You have forced them to do something they don't like. Now, sometimes it works out, but if it doesn't work out, you have no one to blame but yourself. Do you have a say? You absolutely have a say. And me, as a child, should consider my parents' say. Why does my parent want me to marry her? Why does my parent want me to marry him if you're a sister? Why? I should keep that in mind. I should keep in mind that my marriage to someone is a relationship for life, is a partnership for life. I should not be forced into it, nor should I force into it. However, if they accept, by all means, tawakkalu ala Allah. But arranged in the sense that you will marry without your choice, without your concern, because I'm your father and I said so, Where in Islam does it say that? Where in Islam does it, is this okay? Tell me so I can learn from it. Rather, just like when we want to protect our children from harm, let us also protect our children from our flaws. None of us here are ma'soom, unless the Imam Ajalallah Farajah tends to come here. And I ask Allah that he does. None of us here are ma'soomeen, so let us not think that everything we do is correct. No. I do make mistakes. So let me put those clearly. I maybe the decision I made is wrong. There's nothing wrong with that. Brothers and sisters, there's nothing wrong, nothing aib about making a mistake. The aib is saying that your mistake is correct. The shameful act is considering all of your mistakes as correct. Nonetheless, sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. Another thing we need to learn is the Prophet salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ. Indeed, I was sent to complete the good mannerisms, good morality, good ethics. We see Islam is a religion of global interests. Islam does not come to a civilization and say, I void your civilization. Rather, Islam comes to you and says, this is what I offer, show me what you offer. That's why the Prophet, he says, seek knowledge even if it were in China. Even if you have to travel to China, seek knowledge over there. Seek knowledge from a Muslim, from a non-Muslim, seek it. Because it is the way straight. If I can have the brother sit properly, please. All the brothers sit properly. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. The Prophet says, إِنَّمَا بُعِثْتُ لِأُتَمِّمَ مَكَارِمِ الْأَخْلَاقِ أَدَّبَنِي رَبِّي فَأَحْسَنَ أَدَبِي. I was taught by my Lord. My mannerisms come from my Lord. He taught me mannerisms and ethics, and He perfected it. Then He says, إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يُحِبُّ الْمُؤْمِنَ الضَّعِيفِ. Allah does not like the weak believer. Weak here does not mean physically. Physically, there's tafawud, there's differences. A brother might be stronger than I am, and I might be stronger than someone else. Rather here, the strong mu'min and the da'if mu'min refers to what? To their faith, to their belief system, to their ideology, to how they carry themselves in the world, to their identity. What is your identity? Is your identity Pakistani, Muslim, or Muslim Pakistani? Is your identity Iraqi Muslim or Muslim Iraqi? Is your identity Canadian Muslim or Muslim Canadian? What comes first, brothers and sisters? My identity is Muslim. And that's it. Me. Yes, I was born in Iraq. Yes, I grew up in Canada. But my identity, first and foremost, is La ilaha illallah Muhammadan Rasulullah. Allahumma salli ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. That's in the general sense. Then we come to the second part. Aliyun waliyullah Sayyidi ana mawlan liman walakum wa aduun liman aadakum. I am an ally to your allies and an enemy to your enemies. Yabna Rasulillah, Ya Hussein. That's why we are here. We are here to establish our identity. I'm not saying, and let's be clear, don't be Iranian, don't be Pakistani. No, that is a point of pride for us. Ya ayyuhan nas inna khalaqnakum min dhakarin wa untha وَجَعَلْنَاكُمْ شُعُوبًا وَقَبَائِلَ لِتَعَارَفُوا إِنَّ أَكْرَمُكُمْ عِنْدَ اللَّهِ أَتْقَاكُمْ. O mankind, O people, we have created you from a man and a woman and we have made you into nations and tribes, so that you may know each other, so that you may understand each other, get to know each other. Indeed, the best of you in the eyes of Allah is the God-weary, is the God-conscientious. Inna akramakum inda Allahi atqakum. That's why the Prophet reiterates this, and he says, there is no pride for an Arabi over a non-Arabi except through taqwa. You might be Iranian, you might be Pakistani, you might be Yemeni, you might be Iraqi. All of those are honorable ethnicities and backgrounds. But the true honor goes to whom? The true honor goes to taqwa. Hence the Prophet says, عَسَىٰ أَن يَدْخُلَ النَّارَ سَيِّدٌ قَرَشِيٌّ. Maybe, not asa means that most likely, maybe, surely will enter the hell an aristocrat Arab. Whom? Aba Lahab. وَعَسَىٰ أَن يَدْخُلَ الْجَنَّةَ عَبْدًا حَبَشِيٌّ. And will enter the heaven a slave from Habasha, modern day Eritrea and Ethiopia. It was called Habasha then. Then when they came to him, they said, Ya Rasulullah, Bilal has a very heavy tongue. He doesn't speak proper Arabic. He says, Ashhadu an la ilaha illallah. Let someone else do the adhan. What does the Prophet say to them? He says, no. The sheen of Bilal to Allah is sheen, and the sheen of Bilal to Allah is seen. Go about your racism from here. We have nothing. We don't need your racism. A black man by the name of John, Mawla Abi Dhar, comes to the Imam al-Hussein. He says to him, Ya Mawlai, I want to fight. The Imam tells him, John, you followed us for ease and comfort. Don't spill your blood. The man looks at the Imam and he says, Yabna Rasulillah, I am a black man. Brothers, listen to what he says to the Imam and how the Imam responds. He says, I am a black man, and I am your servant. And yes, I did follow you for ease, but during the ease time, I lick your boots. This is an expression, it's not real. This is an expression to relate it to English. During the ease time, I follow you. And during the hardships, you want me to leave you. Yabna Rasulillah, tanaffas alayya bil-jannah. Breathe the heaven over me, Yabna Rasulillah, so that my face turns white. Brothers and sisters, the Arab community, just like any other community, back then was very racist, no different. They say when he fell, Imam al-Hussein came and laid next to him in the battlefield. And he says, Allahumma tayyib riha. Oh Allah, make his smell beautiful in this world and the hereafter. Oh Allahumma, and make him the companion of your Prophet on the day of judgment. The Imam did not care about his skin. He did not say, oh Allah, make his skin white. He did not pass. He's beyond that. We don't have that. So whether you're a Persian, a Pakistani, an Arab, whatever you might be, a white, whatever you might be, Islam does not care for your skin tone. Islam cares about the taqwa you bring, the faith you bring, the manners you bring to Islam. Therefore, brothers and sisters, when we raise our kid, we raise them on these ethics, on these morals. And we as children should look towards our parents with these ethics and these morals. We have three examples in Karbala. The youngest example is a man by the name of Amr ibn Junada. This is a young boy. I mentioned him yesterday, but he's a beautiful boy. We should mention him. He's the one that came out and says, Amiri Husaynun wa ni'mal amir, sururu fu'ad al-bashir al-nadhir. My prince is Hussein, and the best of princes. He brought joy to the heart of the Prophet. له طلعة مثل شمس الضحى له وجه مثل بدر منير. When he comes out, he looks like the rising sun, and he has a face that gleams like the moon. That is one individual. He was at the age, they say, of 11. There is an older individual by the name of Wahab. Wahab ibn Ummi wa ibn Wahab. Allahu Akbar ya Wahab. Wahab was a Christian man who came across Imam Hussein alayhi salam on the way to Karbala. They say, they narrate that Wahab on his path to Karbala was him and his wife. Some narrations say that he was 23, around that age. However, keep in mind, back then at 23 is a man in every sense of the word. And the man that he leads his family. Nonetheless, it was him, his newlywed bride, and his mother, Christian family. He woke up in the morning, he says, Ya Ummah, laqad ra'aytu Isa ibn Maryam fil manam. Oh, my mother, I saw Jesus when I slept. And he says, when will you assist me in my victory? Will you fight for me? They say, he said, mother, I will go bring us some food. Let me go hunt and come back. As she was sitting with her new daughter-in-law, a man came at the door and he says, Assalamu alaikum. She opens the tent and she looks and she says, Wa alayka assalam. He says, where is Wahab? She says, Wahab is gone. He's not here. He says, tell him I have come. But he didn't give her a name. They say when Wahab came, she told him, she says, Bunay ya Wahab, I saw Isa ibn Maryam come to the tent. A man that looked like Isa ibn Maryam come to a tent. He said, mother, maybe this is my dream being fulfilled. Where is he? She says, I believe he is by the oasis. He goes to him and he sees him. When he sees him, he says, Ya ibn Rasulillah, I am at your service. He says, did you see the dream that you were promised? He says, Bala, ya ibn Rasulillah. Who are they? Wahab, his mother and his newlywed, his bride. They say on the day of Karbala, brothers and sisters, Wahab came to her son and she says, what are you doing sitting down? Do you not see what's happening? Do you not see Al-Hussein by himself? He says, mother, what would you ask of me? She says, Wahab, go and fight. I will not be pleased with you until you fight. He says, I shall make you proud, O my mother. Wahab walks into the battlefield by himself. Salawatullahi wa salamuhu alayhi. They say when he fought, قاتل قتال الأبطال, a brave individual, until his right arm was cut. Some say his hand was cut. Others say his fingers were chopped. Nonetheless, he could no longer hold a sword in his dominant hand. He came and he says, Ya Ummah, have I fulfilled my obligation? She says, no, I do not think so. How could you fulfill your obligation while you're breathing and Imam al-Hussein will be killed? Go back to the battlefield. His wife came to him. She said, Wahab, I am a newlywed. Do not make me a widow just yet. His mother, she said to him, Bunay, leave the talk of women. Go and assist. They say that Wahab ran into the battlefield. As he is fighting, he was struck hard enough to take him to the ground. At that point, he saw his wife running after him, saying, Ya Wahab, stand up and fight and defend the family of the Prophet. He says to her, why did you come after me? Why didn't you tell me not to go to war? She said, Ya Wahab, la talumni, don't blame me. فَإِنَّ وَاعِيَةَ الْحُسَيْنِ أَقْرَحَتْ قَلْبِي. The tragedy of Hussein has destroyed me. He says, what happened? She said, Ya Wahab, when you fell, I saw him standing in the tent saying, وَقِلَّةَ نَاصِرًا. What few companions I have. What few supporters I have. بِأَبِي وَأُمِّي يَا أَبَا عَبْدِ اللَّهِ. The third youth was a man by the name of Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan. Allahu Akbar ya ala Muhammad. Al-Qasim ibn al-Hasan, who was 13 years old. They say he came to Imam al-Hussein. After the death of Ali al-Akbar, he says, Ya Am ya Hussein, allow me to take vengeance for my cousin. He says, my son, return. You are the son of my brother. I cannot have you fight. I cannot see you fall. They say he went back crying and he remembered that his mother had given him a little gift from his father Al-Hasan. However, on this envelope, it has said, do not open this envelope unless you are in the worst of tragedies. He says, what could be more tragic than the death of my uncle? He opens up this paper and it says, Bunay Qasim, if you see your uncle all by himself in Karbala, let nothing stand in your way. Do not let him fall by himself. He says, they say Al-Qasim came running with joy and happiness, saying, Ya Am, hadi wasiyyatu abi. This is the will of my father to you. They say when Al-Hussein saw the paper, he started crying. Why? Because he remembered he has nobody left. He has no Muhammad, no Ali, no Fatima, no Hassan. He is by himself, surrounded by the enemy. They say he hugged him so tight and they cried until they fell to the ground. Then Al-Hasan carried his sword, they say, and he is wearing a white shirt and 2 slippers, 2 Arabian sandals. And he carried out into the battle and he says, إن تنكروني فأنا نجل الحسن سبط النبي المصطفى والمؤتمن هذا حسين بينكم كالأسير المرتهن. He says, you want to deny me? I am the offspring of Al-Hasan, the grandson of the Prophet Muhammad. Why is Hussein between you like a prisoner, like someone who has no supporter and nobody to help him? They say as he is fighting, one of his left slipper came undone. So he did not care for the enemy. He bent to tie his shoes. Then Al-Ain, he looked at him and he says, Alayya athamul Arab. May I carry all the sins of the Arabs if I do not kill this child. The man next to him, he says, Wayhak, don't you see how beautiful he is, how young he is? Why? He says, because I want to burn his uncle's heart. I want to break his uncle's back through this. They say when he saw the boy bend over, he came and he struck him with the sword on top of his head. Allahu Akbar. When Al-Hussein saw this, he came running at him. They say he came running like a lion chasing down its prey. When the La'in saw Al-Hussein, he raised his sword and Imam cut his arm off. Then he called upon, they say he yelled so loudly, everybody heard his yell. Then the enemy came to try to save their fallen companion, but subhanallah, the enemy ended up stampeding over him. They say when the dust settled, they saw Imam Hussein sitting over this young boy. And he says, oh my uncle, it weighs heavy on my heart that you ask for my assistance and I do not help you, Ya Qasim. Brothers and sisters, Al-Qasim was 13 years old. Al-Imam Al-Hussein was 60 years old, or a bit less or a bit more. But Al-Hussein was Tawil al-Qama. He was a very large man. They say when he wanted to carry Al-Qasim, he picked him up from under his armpits, chest to chest, but he could not stand upright. Rather, Al-Qasim's feet were dragging behind him. They say, Mawlai, why can't you stand? He says, the tragedy can't let me stand. A tragedy has broken my back. They say, then he brought him and he laid him in the tent. Which tent? The tent which had Aliyul Akbar in it. That's why the poet, he says, Ya shubban ballalatu wan-noon تصدعون قلبي من تلوجون بعيونكم لي تديرون مدري بعده ليش تريدون. Allahu Akbar, Ya Hussein. He's looking at Al-Qasim and Ali al-Akbar, who was standing at the tent. Al-Rabab and who? Ramla Al-Qasim. Layla and Ramla, both of them standing at the tents. They say when he walked out of the tent, that's when the wailing began. That's when the women started screaming. لا حول ولا قوة إلا بالله العلي العظيم إنا لله وإنا إليه راجعون. وسيعلم الذين ظلموا آل محمد أي منقلب ينقلبون. اللهم فرج عنا يا الله. اللهم فرج عنا فرجا عاجلا قريبا كلمح البصر. اللهم بحق الحسين الوجيه وجده وأبيه وأمه وأخيه والتسعة المعصومين من بنيه. Brothers, we have sick individuals, we have ailing individuals here within our community and in Iraq. Brothers and sisters, we buried a dear friend today. We buried a brother from amongst us today. While he is with Imam al-Hussein, he died during the days of Imam al-Hussein. Hani'an lah, waqa'an, it's a blessing to die during the days of Imam al-Hussein. But still, it's the distance, it's the missingness of them. We will miss them, their family will miss them. Keep them in your dua, inshallah. وإلى أرواح المؤمنين والمؤمنات وأرواح من مات على الهدى والإيمان رحم الله من قرأ الفاتحة مسبوقة بالصلاة على محمد وآل محمد.
मुदस्सिर भाई कह रहे थे ये स्लो पढ़ते हैं तो कैसा करना चाहिए?
लोग जो है ना चले जाते हैं स्लो वाला बाद में क्योंकि मातम के लोग नहीं होते।
चलिए
अगर तेज है ना तो हम लोग पहले पढ़ स्लो वाला लोग नहीं होते ना, लोग नहीं होते ना, ग्रुप का है ना। या इस पे पढ़ना है किस पे पढ़ना है?
Ya Hussein, 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 Ya Hussein.
ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें। तूने जो आले मोहम्मद पे सितम ढाए हैं, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें। तूने जो आले मोहम्मद पे सितम ढाए हैं, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें, कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें। हमसे कहते हो के शबीर का मातम ना करो, हमसे कहते हो के शबीर का मातम ना करो, हम तो गमखार
लिए आए हैं कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें हमसे कहते हो के शबीर का मातम ना करो हमसे कहते हो के शबीर का मातम ना करो हम तो गम खार हैं रोने के लिए आए हैं कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें लुट गई वो बला में फातिमा की बेटी लुट गई वो बला में फातिमा की बेटी इसके भाइयों के जो सर ने जों पे उठवाए हैं कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें बोसा लेते थे मोहम्मद जिस गले का लोगो बोसा लेते थे मोहम्मद जिस गले का लोगो उस पे शबीर ने उम्मत से जख्म खाए हैं कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें पूछा सजाद से ज़ैनब ने ये चलते चलते पूछा सजाद से ज़ैनब ने ये चलते चलते शाम है दूर अभी कितनी हम कहाँ आए हैं कलमा गो ये तो बता हम तेरी क्या बात करें कलमा गो ये तो बता हम
या हुसैन 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 भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन है तेरा तर्ज़े ज़िंदगी, है तेरा तर्ज़े ज़िंदगी, जावेदाना या हुसैन, भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन, किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन। है तेरा तर्ज़े ज़िंदगी, है तेरा तर्ज़े ज़िंदगी, जावेदाना या हुसैन, भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन, भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन। तेरा सजदा कैसे भूलें ये ज़मीनों आसमां, तेरा सजदा कैसे भूलें ये ज़मीनों आसमां, और तेरी हमशीर का बाजार जाना या हुसैन, और तेरी हमशीर का बाजार जाना या हुसैन, किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन। जा रहा है मांगने पानी खुद असगर फौज से, जा रहा है मांगने पानी खुद असगर फौज से, मिल गया तो इसको जी भर के पिलाना या हुसैन, मिल गया तो इसको जी भर के पिलाना या हुसैन, किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन। मौत ने भी नोहा खानी की कमर को बांध के, मौत ने भी नोहा खानी की कमर को बांध के, वो तेरा अकबर के लाशे को उठाना या हुसैन, वो तेरा अकबर के लाशे को उठाना या हुसैन, किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन, किस तरह भूलेगा तुझको ये ज़माना या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन, या हुसैन,
या हुसैन, या हुसैन, आजा बिलाल असगर, आजा बिलाल असगर, झूला तेरा झूलावा, झूला तेरा झूलावा, क्यों रुस गया है माँ तो, आजा मैं वारी जावा, आजा बिलाल असगर, आजा बिलाल असगर मुहर्रम मोड़ी संगत नमादी तोड़ी झोली छोलाल दे के सुखी सोन तियानी मावा जा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर अमड़ी नारज के छाया बहनी नारज खिड़ाया अमड़ी नारज के छाया बहनी नारज खिड़ाया आजा मैं तेनू पढ़ के सुगरा ताकत सुनावा जा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर क्यों रुस गया है माँ तो आजा मैं वारी जावा जा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर आजा वेलाल असगर या हुसैन
يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين حسين صار الله أبا عبد الله حسين صار الله أبا عبد الله حسين صار الله عبد الله عبد الله أين الطالب بدم المقتول بكربلاء 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 كل يوم عاشوراء كل أرض كربلاء كل يوم عاشوراء كل أرض كربلاء وارث خون حسین مهدی زهرا بیا یار مظلومان کی میرسی از راه یار مظلومان کی میرسی از راه العجل العجل یا حجت الله العجل اجل یا حجت الله العجل یا حجت الله العجل حجت الله صلى الله عليك يا مظلوم يا أبا عبد الله السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين يا حسين